Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 210 of the Keith Andrew Network. I'm here with Brent Filipkowski, and I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Of course.
Now, for people, let me just catch my voice. For people who want to know what uncensored is, uncensored is my way of showing people that even with a learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, I'm able to turn myself into a perfect example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities or disabilities. But you should never give up, and you should prove to people you can still mouth something no matter what. But labels should not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. So the theme of the show is uncensored. You can call me an asshole for messing up your last name. Like I said, I have text-to-speech, so I type the person's name and it pronounces it for me, and I just repeat it. So again, for the record, no disrespect. But like you said, half hour, 45 minutes every time. You're supporting a good cause, and you're making a new friend out of it. So starting off, I'm going to start off with the easy questions, then a couple hard-hitting ones. I will pass the show over to you. You can ask me anything you want, uncensored, gloves off. And like I said, you're making a new friend and supporting a cause. So starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
Well, I'm a 29-year-old parent of two. I run Animatic-Con, which is an animation and cosplay convention that works to raise not only funds for kids with autism in the community, but also to create an environment that not only welcomes in the community, but also caters to the needs of those with autism.
Now, is it just for autism, or is it for everyone with disabilities?
So our first year was autism. We are looking to expand and look and identify limitations within a convention scene and do what we can to help remove those limitations to the best of our ability.
No, absolutely. I totally support that. And if there's any way I can be a part of it, advertising and working with you, I would totally love that.
Okay.
And if there's ever anything like promoting wise you need, like to spread the word, I can put it on my Facebook, I can put it on my website. So, hey, you help me, I help you.
Of course.
But for the most part, we can talk about that off the air. But while on the subject, how did all this come about? And how did you start your own cosplay and your own Comic-Con?
Well, I have two nephews with autism. My oldest nephew is really into like the Pokemon playing cards and stuff. We went to visit my mother where he lives, and he brought his cards out and was like, "Uncle Brent, look at these cards." And I started looking. I was like, "Oh, this is cool." I said, "Do you know how to play the game?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "Well, if I could take you to a convention where you could learn to play, would you want to?" And he was like, "Yeah, but I can't." And then he started telling me, with his sensory issues and stuff, that it was just basically the crowds would just, make him go into overload. And I completely got it. So for like 2 weeks, I felt bad. I sat with my wife and I started talking. I said, that really bothers me. That there's not an event that recognizes this issue and finds a way to cater to it to make an event that allows, people with sensory overload issues to come in, with autism and everything, to come in and enjoy the same experience that we're getting when we go. And so I reached out to the Make It Fit Foundation and Autism Rocks, told them what my problem was, and I said, I want to build an event that caters to these needs, and, I want to do something to fix that. So for our first year, we brought a sensory room into our event.
Now for people, sorry, I'm just trying to catch my voice. Like I said, I just choked down my food because I thought I had more time. But, excuse me. For people who want to know what a sensory room is, can you describe to us what it is?
Yeah, basically it is a therapeutic room. A lot of doctors use it for people dealing with autism and other sensory issues. But it is things that help kind of rebalance the mindset so that when you go into an overload mode, the best way I describe it to people is think about like when you're in a grocery store and you see that child having that temper tantrum, but then they get that toy and it bounces them right back out and they're happy now. It's kind of like that. It's something that just kind of automatically will help retransition the mind into knowing that everything's okay, that they're not in, an unstable situation, that there is balance to what's going on.
So it's more like a safety blanket.
I guess in a sense, yeah, you can call it that. It varies depending on where you go. A lot of times, a prime example is like textures. Some people with autism have an issue with certain textures. But there's also textures that can calm your nerves too. Same thing with like running water. My nephew loves like waterfalls. It's like a soothing thing. So it kind of helps soothe the mind to know, to put it back in a state of calmness instead of alert.
Oh, that's completely awesome. I'm in total support, and whatever you need advertising, just come to me. I would love to be part of it.
Okay.
Now, what were the steps to creating your own Comic Con? Was it? We would like to hear your story about it.
So basically, you guys kind of know how it started. To getting it up off the ground and running, it was reaching out to the Make It Fit and Autism Rocks, telling them what I wanted to do, and they were in full support. They wanted to get involved. So for our first year, we partnered with them, and they hosted the event, basically. And so we put the event on for them. And what we did is, I have a background in marketing and also music and everything, playing in bands and whatnot. So I said, when we announce, we can't look like a first year show, because between the three of us, we have 25 years experience doing this. So when we come out and announce this stuff, we have to look professional, because marketing is going to be one of those things that put that out there. I had so many people go, "Wait, you're a first year show?" They couldn't believe it, because we were organized. We followed this marketing plan that I drew up that just put us on the map. We were getting emails from huge celebrities saying, "Hey, we really like what you're doing. We'd love to come out and help and stuff." And I'm like, "Well, we're 2 weeks till show. It's a little late to be booking guests. Let's talk about next year, though. Because there's always next year." But we put out 50,000 flyers just from us alone. GameStop reached out to us, who also got Sony involved, and they ended up putting us in 45 of the GameStop stores in our area.
Oh, that's awesome.
So the marketing is how we got out there, and just keeping the name out there, and making sure people knew that this wasn't about a convention. This was about creating something bigger than a convention itself. We labeled ourselves the con with a cause.
That's pretty cool. Sorry for the sudden pause. I just had a thing for me what it meant. Now, for what were your biggest challenges to getting your own Comic Con off the ground? Like, I don't know, for a perfect example, how did he get people, the cosplayers, number one? How did he go about that? Second, who were some of the biggest celebrities that he had, and who put up a fight about working with you? Or, do you have any stories about that?
Well, we didn't really have any issues like having people work with us. I built a pretty good reputation for myself. I'm a very good people person, so that kind of helps us. Me being the contra of the event itself, and one of the founders, it really helps because my name's kind of on the line with everything, and I really hold that reputation high. I obviously want myself to have a good name in this community, and I want to make sure that when people hear my name and they hear the convention name, they're like, "Oh, that's a show I want to go to." Getting the cosplayers to come in, and even we had Caitlin French and Caitlin Barr from Sentai Films, and even getting them to come in it wasn't really a challenge, because with what we're doing everything for, and us not being for profit, we don't make money off the show. The whole point of this show is to help kids in the community with autism, and help these families and stuff, and then also raise awareness. So with that message that we had behind it, it makes people more willing to get involved, I guess you'd say. We got Gearbox to send us a loot chest that was autographed by the entire staff of Gearbox and stuff when we auctioned it off and everything. To have companies like Gearbox, which is the company, the developers behind the game series Borderlands, and also Battleborn that just came out recently. For a first year show, that's huge. So, I mean, that's just a staple to putting us on the map is, we're getting these sponsors that most shows won't get their first year. I mean, if they're lucky, they might get it within their first 10 years.
No, absolutely. Now, where do you see your Comic Con going? Like, who do you think would be a big, like, you have some named stars, who do you think would benefit from the star? Like for a perfect example, like, how people would benefit. Do you think someone like me would benefit with my talk shows disabilities? Number one. And what celebrities do you really want to work with? And do you think eventually they will come around?
Well, like with our show, the one thing I wanted to do is, I mean, when we first started, a lot of people thought that this was a convention for people with autism as far as the event itself. And yes, it is an event for people with autism, but it's also an event for everyone. That's the point of it. We want to put everything together, to make this easier so people can come in and enjoy themselves. So, we did a roundtable discussion for autism, which was a way for us to help identify other issues that people with autism or other disabilities alone, face in the convention scene so that we can identify them. And then now we can start looking at ways that we can improve our show to help cater to those issues, to help try to eliminate the issue. As far as working with celebrities, to be honest with you, I've never really worked with anyone that's bad. To be honest with you, the one thing that we said was we wanted to look at the market of where we're at. And I mean, being in Ohio where we're at for conventions, not even Comic-Cons, but conventions alone for anime, comics, tabletop, all of that, it's a very oversaturated market. There's almost at least one con in Ohio every month, if not more than one. So that can kind of be a bad thing. For us, it would actually turn out to be good for our first year where we chose to go. But as far as working with guests and stuff, it's, to me, we've talked about just bringing musicians in or whatnot, because for us, it's all about the kids, So to me, it's not so much about bringing the guests in as far as making the event better for the kids. If we get people saying, hey, I want to see Stephen Amell from Arrow, or, I want to see Tara Strong, yeah, sure, we'd love to see about bringing them in. But at the end of the day, my main focus is making an event better for everyone.
No, absolutely. And I've been to my first Comic-Con. It was the Poughkeepsie Comic-Con in New York. And since then, people said I've been addicted to going to different Comic-Cons. So maybe it's true, but at least it's given me something to look forward to, and I can network with my talk show. But I looked up, there's one in Poughkeepsie, like I mentioned. There's one in New York that's coming up. There's the Long Island Comic-Con. I think there's the New Jersey Comic-Con. And I recently reached out and said, wouldn't it be nice if a local town had their own Comic-Con? Or maybe Rockland would have their own Comic-Con. I think everyone deserves to have their own little thing. And it's good, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's competition, but everyone deserves to have their own formats. Now, I mentioned with my talk show how I cater to people with disabilities and everything, and he caters with people with autisms. Do you think what my own platform that I have would be good enough to have my own booth, or do you think I'm just good enough to have my own Q&A, if that makes any sense?
I think it'd be fine to have a booth. I mean, the way I look at it, is it doesn't matter if you have one listener, one viewer, or 10. It's the message you're sending and who you're reaching. The way I look at it, especially like what we're doing, our first year we had 774 paid attendees. And the way I've always looked at marketing and outreach and stuff is it's kind of the yes to the no. You're going to have 95 no's when you're trying to sell something to somebody. And you're going to have 5% of yeses. And through all the no's, once you get that first yes, it makes your day. So at the end of the day, when when you're doing talk shows, when you're doing conventions, when you get that one feedback that just somebody absolutely loved what you just did, it really sets the tone for what you have in the future, and it really sets the tone for where you want to be in the future. So for us, when I did closing ceremonies, and I asked people, do you want the same thing or do you want us to change things? And they're like, no, we want you to do exactly what you've done and just keep moving forward in this direction. That told me that for our first year we did something amazing. That we brought an event like we wanted to Cincinnati, Ohio, and made sure that it not only welcomed but it also catered.
Now, on the other subject, are you like good friends with other promoters of Comic Cons? And do you guys all network like on this big group huddle? And
So we do work with other shows. I mean, there's some shows that don't work together. That's just the community that we're in, unfortunately. The rumors, drama, whatever it may be. Like I said, I'm a reputation person. I care about my reputation. I care about what we do and what we put out there. I work with a few different shows, and I try to keep myself on good terms with about every show I work with. And we'll talk. We've got conversations that I've done where if I'm thinking about something, I might go and say, hey, can I get your input on this? Because maybe another show's tried this. And it was before I was even in conventions, which was 2005 when I got involved in conventions. But, maybe somebody in 2004 did the same thing and it didn't work, or it did, or they found a few issues with it. And maybe it can help me to better our situation.
no, absolutely. Now, how long do you think your Comic Con's going to be around? And when you first, and I don't mean that to sound like an asshole person, that's sort of running out there, but to get bigger and better, have you ever gone on local TV and newspapers and media exposures? Do you think that would help expand the Comic Con experience?
I mean, any source of marketing is a source of marketing. As far as doing news and radio and all that, for Animatic, I did do an interview on the radio that played all weekend long with Bud Strauss out of Cincinnati area. So we did do interview radios. We sent out press releases. Are you familiar with Anime News Network?
I heard about it. I haven't seen it recently.
They're where most people go to get their anime news. I mean, they're what you consider more or less national exposure. Our press release did end up on their website, so we did get national exposure through them. So, I mean, we sent our press releases out just about anywhere we could send it to. And the fact that we got that national exposure just was tremendous.
All right. Now, for social media, are you guys on Facebook and Twitter? And how did your media, well, I'm trying to formulate the good question so it doesn't sound random. When you first started, did you get like a couple numbers and then it just exploded? Or did it just, you had to meet one person at a time, like your Twitter and Facebook, what are your links so our fans can follow you? But the other question is, does that impact the decisions and directions of where the Comic Con is going to go?
So we have Facebook, we have Twitter. I use Instagram and Periscope. We used Periscope all weekend long at the event. We actually streamed like almost all of our events through Periscope. So if you had the Periscope app, you could go on and look us up through my cosplay page and actually find and watch the events as they happened, which I think was something really cool to do. I kind of give you that backstage access too. Facebook, it's just AnimaticCon, and then Twitter, same thing. As far as taking off, when we announced, we did the same thing that everyone does. You invite all your friends to like your page, However, what I did is I went through and I invited my cosplay friends. Like, if they're not into comics, cartoons, anime, whatever it may be, I didn't really invite them. So I went through, I think I have like 600 and some friends on Facebook. I'm not even sure now. But I went through all of my friends list and just started like inviting the people I knew that were into the thing. So then we went and did our first show. Our first show promoting was MatSuriCon in Columbus, and they're in August. And I went and I set up a booth, and what I did is I brought candy because everyone loves candy. And we did this thing where it was like, like us on Facebook, get some candy, and enter for a chance to win a free badge to the weekend. Sorry, I have a 5-year-old. I apologize.
Don't worry about it.
I've warned him that he needs to be quiet. Gage, you'll have to go to your room if you're not good. Sorry. But anyways, so what I did is I put that out there, and I brought like prizes and stuff. So all weekend long, if you just came up and talked to us, you got a free raffle ticket. And then all I had to do is I had you write your name and your number on it or an email. So if we drew that ticket, I could email you or text you and say, hey, you won. Please come by our booth and pick up your prize. And we had like $300 worth of prizes that we went out and picked up. So we put those on the table and stuff. And then like where we were right outside the dealer hall. So, and then next to that was like where the main events was for like dances and stuff. So a lot of the other shows are just kind of sitting at their table, like waiting for people to come by, like, oh, hey, how you doing? Here's a flyer, type thing. I started going to the lines. When I started seeing lines forming for events, and they're waiting like a half hour, 45 minutes to get into that room for the event, me and my people would just take a stack of flyers, go over and start talking to people in the line, like, oh, hey, this is our show. If you get bored, swing by, you have a chance to win some prizes. But feel free to check us out. We're brand new. Explain what we did. And took like, 30, 45 seconds with each person, kind of gave them a little bit of a rundown of what we do and who we are.
Right.
And that really helped. So before our show even started, before we had our first event, Facebook alone, we had 1,000 people on Facebook. But yeah, we had 1,000 people on Facebook. I'm hungry, bro. And so that was really surprising. Bro, I'm hungry. So.
All right, now I'm going to pass this show over to you. Was there any subjects you want to talk about? Anything you want to ask me?
So how did you get into doing talk shows?
I keep changing this story. But when I was growing up, I had this disability. Still do. I kind of wish it went away. But I joined the audiovisual department. And I was like, well, I'm not capable of doing anything else. Let's try this. And before that, I used two people for my inspiration. My dad used to make high school videos, like the yearbooks, and instead of being the yearbooks, he used to do like something in September and go through the years. And he's been doing that with iMovie. So I was like, well, monkey see, monkey do. So I said, I'm going to try to do something like that. So I took Spider-Man, I took Batman. I said, what if Batman, I wrote up this little short story. What if Batman met Spider-Man, or Batman took on the Kingpin? So I had the pictures that I looked up and found. It's like, okay, it's in a right step, slowly moving. But I don't want to be known as the guy who's just those videos, pictures. Like I did a fan-made parody of Dumbo, where I took the videos and I would add text to it.
Yeah.
Like I said, like, what's the big deal, jackass? I would just add stuff to it, make it more funny. And that's like, okay, well, that's going in the right step. Now, I use your son for a perfect example. He's doing videos, and he says, oh, I like what Keith is doing, I want to do it too. And he does it better than me. And it's like, okay, now we have two people doing the same thing. It's, how can I take it one step beyond that? So I said, well, I have a learning disability, which for a long time I was using it as a crutch. Well, we use it as a strength. And now it's like, okay, now you have your own Comic-Con, your own talk show and everything. And it's like, well, okay, now I influence two people to do something. How can I take the next step on that ladder to go to the next step? So basically I started off with pictures. I did a fan-made parody of Dumbo and Jumbo Buck. So it was like, well, people can do that. Well, there's got to be something that's going to make me stand out and be unique. Well, I do have a learning disability. Not a lot of people have that, so I have that going for me. Not saying it's, a blessing or anything, but sometimes it is. So I was like, well, turn that strength into a weakness. So, it's just, I got tired, to make a long story short, I got tired of seeing the people saying to me, oh, you're a burden, you're going to end up in a group home, you got to work in retail for the rest of your life, you can't do what I'm doing, don't set yourself up for failure. So I have a lot of negativity and a lot of people saying you can't do this and you can't do that. So I said, screw it. I'm going to show you, even before I die, I can point to one thing. If I can point to one thing that I accomplished successfully, I can't say, one thing I did and great, and I said, you know what? I remember Keith making a talk show, and he didn't take no for an answer. And I will always be thankful for him making a difference. Then I can die happy because I can say, out of all the stupidity that I did, that one thing, no matter how big or how small, says, I amounted to something. And I started something, but now you have other people's disabilities doing it too. But there's other things. It all started with a birthday list. You probably like this. When I turned 21, people said, it's the most special birthday you can have in a lifetime. Well, I'm like CM Punk. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I like walking to a beat on my own drum. I'm straight edge. Well, I have my health and my family. I would like to have a couple famous friends before I die. So I actually a couple WWE, TNA wrestlers were friendships. And I sound stupid, right?
No, not at all.
And in return, I was being told off. I was being, the F word, this and that, and I was called a lowlife, a parasite. So it's like, okay, let's tweak the idea a little bit. I do want to become famous. I do have a disability. How can I combine both of those things together? And I said, you know what? I'm going to do my own talk show. And now I do have a couple famous friends. I am friends, slowly becoming friends with Melina Perez, Velvet Sky, Ashley, Kurgan Mayhem. He did Goldar. He's actually someone I want you to get in contact with. Maybe you guys can work together. I interviewed people from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Some are nice, some are kind of 50-50. I interviewed some wrestlers who were nice and some were 50-50. But you know what? I should have been doing this a long time ago. Instead of asking people to say, hey, it's my birthday, can I have your friendship, can I have your friendship? Instead of doing that, I said, you know what? I have a talk show. I have a disability. That would have made things a lot more easier. But I knew something was... There's always going to be something that fills in the gaps. Either good or bad. So, without rambling on, there's always... Things happen as they happen. So yeah, my birthday list had a big influence. My dad and my brother had an influence on me. There's a lot of things that influenced me, saying, if they can do it, then there's no excuse why I can't do it. Like, for a perfect example, I'm pretty much like you. Just, I can't drive. And things like, I don't know, you were on honor, just saying you're like an honor roll student and you went to college, you have a bachelor's in BA. Now, look at me, I'm scaled back. I don't have a bachelor's in BA or an honor roll student. I barely got a pass through high school, and I'm only capable of doing retail with a learning disability. But look at the stepping stones that I'm making for myself. This talk show, if people like it or not, and I really don't care if they do like it or not. Well, actually, I do like it if they do appreciate it. But the people who don't care, there's the door. But I made my own stepping stone to say I have a disability. And it's like, well, and I got turned down for interviews because I'm going to say this and I'll pass it back to you. I got turned down for disabilities. It's like, oh, okay, you worked in retail. Well, tell us what you do in your everyday life. How am I going to answer that? No, just tell us. What do you do in your everyday life? I'm a talk show host. That's like, oh, really? You're a talk show host. Well, Mr. Talk Show, what do you talk about? Well, I turn myself into an example for people with disabilities. And sometimes they say, I think you have a knack in that, or a niche in that, but you should pursue it. Or that's usually a conversation killer. It's like, yep, well, thank you for your time, and we'll be in contact. But, you can't. There's a slogan in a video I saw recently that really fit me. You can't go around pleasing everyone. Because I try pleasing my parents. I try pleasing my brother and sister. I try pleasing, my co-workers. I try pleasing, my fans. And sometimes it's doable. Yes, you can please everyone. But you can't please everyone all the time. And that's where it's like 50-50. It's like, okay, now I have this certain structure that I created. And like, I use my hands like for a box. But in the box, you have this open space. And then that's where the negativity is. So as you're going up and up, that negativity, it's only got to build and build. So, so I'm like a yin-yang, I take the good with the bad. You're going to please people, you're going to piss people off. I originally did over 300 interviews. Like, for the record, I said everything else. I now have permission slips, like a waiver. I introduce myself, I explain what the talk show is about, and I have people sign it, either by hand or by print, they sign it. I should have been doing that 3 years ago. But I wasn't doing that. That was my stupidity. Because I was taking people by their word. One thing I do pride myself on, I take from my grandfather. When it's like, when I give you my word, I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm a man of my word. So I didn't do the permission slips. And then I had people say, my agent said, my manager says, you were asking a lot of stupid questions. I didn't like how the video quality was. It was this. It was that. Or they just said, I only did your interview because I thought it would be beneficial for me. Or whatever excuses. So basically I'm like, without going on a big rant, it's like, I take it as it is. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And, if you can help me create more of a platform to get my viewers out there and create more fan base, and I can do the same for you, or I can promote you and advertise and everything. But that's basically what networking is. You help me, I help you.
Yeah.
And it's not about, okay, I'm going to be a guest on your show if you pay me or you do this, and what is the outcome going to be really about me? What am I going to get out of it? I don't do that because then you set yourself up for failure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about? This is your time, after all.
I don't really have any questions other than one. You can have them. Go ahead. Sorry. And this comes from a personal experience. You talk about, learning disabilities and stuff like that, and disabilities and whatnot. If you could give a mother Words of encouragement for dealing with their child who's just been diagnosed. What would you tell them?
I would say, regardless if the kid was deaf, blind, or in a wheelchair, or mentally challenged, I would say encourage the kid, either a boy or girl, and encourage your child to don't take no for an answer. Just encourage them to say, this is what you want to do. You want to be a wrestler, but you have one arm or one leg. But, whatever scenario you want to throw on it, you should never hold someone back from reaching their potential. Everyone has potential. I do, you do, your son does.
Absolutely.
Every single person has potential. And you should give positive reinforcements, even if it doesn't seem realistic at the time. Like you say, you're 5 years old and you want to be a wrestler. Eventually, you're not going to be a wrestler at 5. But if you encourage it,